Working 40 hours a week just doesn't seem to be cutting it anymore, leaving people with no other choice but to trade more of their life for more money that still doesn't seem to be stretching quite as far. It's a common issue that the budget never really seems to make it until the next paycheck, leaving folks stressed and depressed. Well, if you personally feel like you relate to anything discussed in today's video, or just simply like commentary topic videos discussing topics like this, feel free to like, comment your thoughts, opinions below, and subscribe to see my daily uploads around here discussing topics just like this. And I want to start this video out by giving a huge shout out to all my channel supporters, being that my Patreon memberships, my channel memberships, everybody just rocks the content. You can check out the links to all that stuff down below in the description. And I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who goes above and beyond with some of the extra donation links down there, my Cashapp, Venmo, PayPal. Those go such a long way in terms of my survival and the continuation of the content around here. So I definitely want to give a huge shout out to some of you folks. And now let's begin today's shit show.
I'm constantly torn, like, with the fact that I should be grateful to have a job and to have a, stable job, but also being so depressed that we have to fucking spend 8 to 10 hours a day
Minimum.
at a job just to barely, make it. I'm sorry, I was crying.
Barely.
To barely make it. Like, this is how society treats us. Like, we don't get to live our lives, fully,
It almost seems like it's meant to be this way, as if the rat race cycle that we're forced to be a part of is almost, made to be felt like it's a trap. But at the same time, if you're awoken up to it, if you start calling it out for what it is, you get shunned, and now you're the weirdo, and now you're the negative Nancy, the doom Danny that just doesn't really want to enjoy your life. You're always a doomer. You don't really want to enjoy anything. But in the unfortunate reality, you just refuse to go about your day by day life, just ignoring what's right in front of you. When you wake up in the mirror and you look in the mirror and your alarm clock goes off and you're sitting at work in the lunchroom, just looking around thinking to yourself, like, what is this life?
no. Spend 8 to 10 hours a day working, and then maybe you get a little bit of joy in life.
Not
But
fulfillment.
not too much joy. Not too fucking much. Especially now. It's just so twisted when you think about it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm so grateful to have a job, but at what cost? At what cost?
I mean, the cost is your joy, your sanity, and damn near your freedom. I mean, the term freedom gets stretched so thin that it's kind of hard to really put a solid definition on that word, but the word freedom really goes upon what you feel on the inside. I mean, let's be honest. I know it's going to sound kind of, oh, 2025, Gen Z has feelings. Now that emotions are like real thing, we have to always focus on them. But no, if you really want to point it out, though, you can ignore your feelings for so long, but there's only so many years, decades, your entire life where if you're not satisfied, if you're not getting any fulfillment, and you're still not even really getting a lifestyle out of your job, I mean, really, what's the point of it all? I mean, being able to barely survive, that really is the only point. And then now with many people not really dating, not really starting families, not really having many sorts of assets, there's really no source of what are we working so hard towards? I'm not really looking to get my kids college or their futures. There really are no kids anymore for most folks. And if they are, it's holding them back. So it's like a resentment. Unfortunately, many people don't want to point that out, but many kids are people's biggest resentment because now it's insane how it is. Money is
Now I
it's
gotta
the
go
biggest thing in the
clock
world.
in. Hello. Yay.
Storage unit 150, apartment 2000. This dude's living in a storage unit.
Got all my stuff in. Gotta get some.
Rent prices have gotten
I
so
lift this
high, this
up
is some folks'
when I
best
get hot.
option and only option.
This. Well, just let it up.
At least doesn't need to worry about a front yard to mow or
Into
anything.
a bigger one or whatever, but this should be alright for now.
He has a
Yeah.
fan in there. Imagine how hot that gets at night. This might seem like an okay solution, but I can't imagine, how hot it gets at night. As well as, this obviously isn't allowed in many storage unit facilities, and I have actually read in the comments of this specific video that this does happen more so than people really like to believe. People just fall on hard times, and many people aren't bad people falling in these types of positions. They just have nowhere else to go, and this is just the best solution, especially for the price range. I mean, it works for some folks for a small time being.
I'm about to straighten up in here, whatever.
Like
Or
he has a pot to cook in, some blankets, some
about to lay
pillows,
back down.
a
I
few
don't
bags of
know.
clothes.
We'll see.
in his backpack, bag of Doritos, and he has bug spray and stuff because you already know there's probably mice in these places. Oh, that's air freshener. Probably smells like stank and sweat because how hot it is in there overnight.
Look at this freaking guy right here. Now, as someone who places tiny homes in RV parks for a profit, I respect the heck out
Tiny
of this
homes.
guy because he's placing tiny homes in downtown Toronto to house the homeless.
Okay, tiny homes. Now look at this. Pretty much everything you have in a normal home. You have a bedding, you have a small kitchen, you have some storage units, or storage spaces, I should say rather. Those little cabinets and little, spaces. And it's, I assume heated, and it has water and electricity. So I'm not sure exactly who's funding this, but I can't. This is what you're going to have, folks. Like I was telling you, people are going to be shacking up on boxes along the interstate. It might not be made out of cardboard. It might be actually just like small trailer units, which I don't know if this is really, agreed upon in the city. I don't know if this is somebody's property that they're doing for, but actually, the next video after this, we're going to talk about a family who bought their own property. And even if you buy your own property, you might be in control of your land. You're still most likely not, depending on your location, your residence, or certain um, contradictions that come into play. Being that this next lady is trying to build 3 tiny homes for each of her children so that they can grow up and have some sort of like little reservation of their own. And the city says, no, you can't have that because you labeled them tiny homes. That goes against the city ordinance. Now, let's hear about these ones
And
quick
keep them
because this
warm.
is
His
actually
business is
going
called
on in
Tiny Tiny
Toronto.
Homes Toronto, and it's a nonprofit. They don't know who I am. This is not sponsored, but I want to highlight what they're doing.
Even if you
And I also was reading the comments that Toronto shut that down. So you can let me know in the comments if that's true or not if you guys know any details on that. But the city doesn't really want people just shacking outside in small boxes. They want you to pay rent for a few $1,000s a month in the same size boxes.
own 37 acres of land, the government will still control your land. Did y'all know that? Because I didn't know that. And I just walked into the municipal building. Okay, I'm going to put a tiny home on my property. And he immediately said, nope, you can't do that. I was like, what? What are you talking about? I have 37 acres. There's plenty of room to
37
put a tiny
acres,
home. Nope,
more
you
than
can't
enough
do that.
room.
You're zoned to have one house on your property. I'm like, dude, my property is massive, okay? And this is for my kids' future to have a tiny home. Ultimately, I want three little tiny homes in the back corner of our property. Nope, you can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? No.
Now, her biggest issue is that she called them tiny homes. She would have just called them sheds or certain other projects. I think it would have been much more allowed. I've actually seen many people with larger properties build certain units and other properties on their property, and you can definitely do that. But labeling them as homes, now we're getting into some tricky business where you can rent them out, and they can't have that. You can't make money off the land. He said 100-year floodplain. Well, what year are we on? He has no idea. Forever. It's just a number we put out there so nobody ever questions it. Then when you get questioned, you can't really ever answer any questions about it. It's crazy how some of these rules and laws kind of don't make much sense once logic gets come into play. Either way, I would love to hear all your guys' thoughts and opinions regarding anything discussed in today's video and all these different topics that have been discussed, whether it's tiny homes, jobs, the lackluster job market, and everybody doesn't have much fulfillment. They all hate our lives, or we all hate our lives in terms of our jobs now. Pretty much the main reason, main cause is what's to blame, and as well as just the overall economy being a shit show. So feel free to let me know all your guys' thoughts, opinions down below in the comments. I love reading all those, and I always respond to the ones I see fit. And I want to give a huge shout out to all my channel supporters, my Patreon supporters, my channel memberships. Everybody goes above and beyond to check out some of those nation links down below in the description. Again, I always love to say those are some of the best ways to support me and the content around here. And I really appreciate y'all. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.